Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video we're going to be returning back to MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle in the Age of Sigmar Army Archive, and we're going to be looking at Clan Pestilence. So of course this is the SKAVEN Nurgle clan that we all know and love from that Under Empire. So in this video we're going to be reviewing all the units that they have. And the reason we'll be doing this today is because all of those units can be taken within the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle allegiance. And the reason for this is because they all share the Nurgle keyword. As we all know, Age of Sigmar is a keyword based game to sort out allegiances, and they all share it. However, something worth of note, none of the heroes in this, bar the Vermin Lord Corruptor, will be able to take a command trait or a artifact from the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle allegiance, and this is purely because the only three types of keywords that can take command traits or artifacts from the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle allegiance are going to be demons, rockbringers, or mortals. And as only the Vermin Lord Corruptor shares one of those keywords, he would be the only one who can take one. But you can have someone else as a general. The reason you would take Clan Pestilence in MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle is mainly for support or something like that. You can make a whole near enough a whole SKAVEN MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle army, not completely, but it's more of a supportive role and just to give you a few more options for variety or themed. So anyway, with no further ado, let us go into their review. So the first thing we're going to look at are going to be the Plague Monks. Now the Plague Monks are going to come minimum size units of 10, maximum size units of 40. They're going to cost you 80 points for 10 and then 280 points for 40, so you get a 40 point discount there for the Mass Allegiance allowance. Now, talking about battle line, in like the Skaven Tide army, like the Skaven army, you can make them battle line, but in MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle I don't believe that is the case. So there was nothing here that can be battle line as far as I'm aware, which is why I say you can't make a pure MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Skaven army unless you do some creative conversions and stuff for Plague Bearers and what not. Okay, so that is the points for the Plague Monks. Let's see what they actually do. Now, Plague Monks actually have a pretty big war scroll, probably the biggest war scroll we're going to be reviewing today on the SKAVEN. So, looking at the description, it says a unit of Plague Monks has any number of models. The unit is armed with one of the following weapon options: a pair of Futured Blades, or a Futured Blade and a Woe Staff. Okay, so let us go into their wheel stats. 6-inch movement, 6+ save, bravery 5 and 1 wound. 6+ save is very good because these guys usually had no save a while back, but now they got 6+, definitely good, means they can have Mystic Shield, whatever, get them the rerolls of 1. It just gives them something. Bravery of 5, not bad for SKAVEN, 1 wound, yeah, that's going to be the case. And movement of 6 is pretty fast, and SKAVEN are quite fast, so it's nice to have that. And then we're going into their weapons. We've got two options here, like we mentioned. So we've got the Futured Blade, which is 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 4 hit, 4 wound, no render, 1 damage. And the Woe Staff, so range of 2 inches, 1 attack, 4 hit, 5 wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So of course you can give them 2 Futured Blades, which we're going to see that benefit in a moment. But the Woe Staff does have that extra inch range, especially if you're taking big blocks of these. You do sort of want that. That's how I personally look at it. But like I said, we're going to go into the abilities now. So to start with, we're going to look at the Bringer of the Word. So one model in this unit can be a Bringer of the Word. That model replaces its weapon options with a Futured Blade and a Carrying Book of Woes. And it says the Standard Bearers. So 1 in every 20 models in this unit can either be a Contagion Banner Bearer or an Icon or Pestilence Bearer. And then it tells us what they do. So Contagion Banner Bearer. Roll a dice each time a model from this unit is slain by an attack made with a melee weapon if this unit includes any Contagion Banner Bearers before the model is removed. On a 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. Okay, the reason why this is really good is because back in the day when you can make Nagash have a 2-up save reroll in 1, now I did take that to a tournament, and yes, it was very disgusting. I had 10 tournament games, so 2 separate tournaments at Warhammer World, and Nagash only died once. And now, he nearly died another time, and this was purely down to the Plague Monks. Nagash was killing so many of them in droves upon droves that I was rolling so many mortal wound saves due to their like putrid blood from the contagion banner that Nagash nearly killed himself. And with that alone, it makes me love this. It makes it so with Plague Monks, when you're fielding them, yeah, you don't really want them all to die so you can get your attacks out. But if they do, if you like, I should attack the Plague Monks so they don't die, but there's another combat I have to pick first over the Plague Monks. It's not the end of the world. The Plague Monks, by dying, is still going to give you some benefit. It's like with Blood Warriors, isn't it? So having a unit you can safely leave like last to attack with is really, really nice. It's almost like, you know, with a defensive unit, if you had a Stormcast unit, like 2 up, say, roll 1, you probably go, they can handle themselves, they're not going to be fighting first. It's a bit like these guys. They can't really handle themselves, but they would do a lot of damage back to the enemy. Okay, and the next one is Icon of Pestilence. So if an unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by this model from this unit is 6, while this unit includes any Icon Pestilence bearers, add 1 to the damage characteristic inflicted by that attack. Okay, so yep, that is good as well. That makes you guys from doing, you know, loads of attacks but only doing 1 damage to loads of attacks potentially doing 2 damage, which is definitely a big thing. I remember fighting against Plague Monks a fair bit, and like the first few times fighting against them, you know, the opponent makes all their attacks and all that, and then they line up loads of different groups of dice, and you've got to roll like 3 or 4 save attempts because these ones do like 1 damage, these ones do something like 1 damage minus from Ren, and these ones do like 2. You know, it's like loads of different ways for them to inflict damage onto you. Okay, so then the next one we've got is Plague Harbingers. So 1 in every 20 models in this unit can either be a Doom Gong bearer or a Bale Chime bearer. So a Doom Gong, add 1 to the run and charge rolls for this unit, while it includes any Doom Gong bearers. So yep, that's good. Makes you not failing those 3-inch charges. Makes a big difference. And adding 1 to the run as well is nice. And then the next one is a Bale Chime. So if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by a model from this unit is a 6, while this unit includes any Bale Chime bearers, improve the Ren characteristic for an attack by 1. So there we go, what I mentioned earlier, a way to get like -1 to Ren, which is absolutely huge, especially against armies with really good saves where you're not going to punch through anyway, or on the flip side, armies with terrible saves, which is just going to make them, you know, basically not going to be able to save against you. So yeah, big difference. And then going into the real ability, so we've got the pair of Putrid Blades. So if you equipped, you know, Plague Monks with 2 Putrid Blades, you can reroll hit rolls for an attack made with a pair of Putrid Blades. And when I say Putrid, it's not, it's Putrid Blades, something like that. And the nice thing about this is it's not reroll hit rolls of 1, which you commonly see with twin weapons. It's just all failed hit rolls, and the amount of buckets of attacks you're chucking out of these guys does make a big difference. How I do personally feel like having that extra 1-inch range with your attacks if you're taking blocks of 40 can make a really big difference, and more so than the rerolls, but that's just personal choice. Right, okay, the next one we're going to look at is Frenzy Assault. So add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's melee weapons if the unit made a charge move in the same turn. So we go from them making, you know, 2 attacks each to making 3 attacks each. Absolutely loads, like I say, especially if you're taking 40. And then the next one we've got is the Book of Woe. So in your hero phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 30 inches of this unit, Bringer of the Word, and roll a dice. On 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds instead of 1. This ability has no effect on Clan Pestilence units. Yeah, that's fine. I look at this as, on a 4 up you do 1 more wound. On a 6 you're really lucky. D3, the best thing about it is not once per game, it's just in your hero phase you can do it. 13-inch range isn't a short-inch range. I would look at this as most of the time, was it 50-50 that you're going to do 1 more wound, but a lot of times it's not really going to make much of a difference. But it will, you know, it will help when it's not a bad thing, you know. Just try not to forget about it basically, because this war score is absolutely massive. We have got to the end of it now, but it's absolutely massive. I did think it used to be bigger than this, but you know, I think this is more than enough to try and keep to remember. Right, going into the keywords, we've got Chaos Skaven, Skaven Tide Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, and Plague Monks, and the most important one there is a Nurgle. For the point of this review, means you can take him in the Maggot-Kin of Nurgle allegiance. And then moving on to the next one, which is going to be a little bit different, a little bit of an upgrade from the Plague Monks, and this is going to be the Plague Censer Bearers. Now, Plague Censer Bearers, they're going to cost you 60 points for a unit of 5 models. You can take him in a max size unit of 20. They're not going to be battle line for Maggotkkin of Nurgle because it's not in the SKAVEN Legions and it's not a Clan Pestilence Legions, anything like that. If I am wrong about this, let me know down below, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. So looking to see what they do. So look at the description. A unit of plague sensor bearers has any number of models, each armed with a plague sensor. Looking at their will stats, they've got a 6-inch movement, save of 6+, bravery 5 and 1 wound. So far, just as good as the plague monks, but a lot more points. Nearly double the points. So let's actually see why they are so. Okay, looking at their weapons, they only have one, and it's going to be a melee weapon, and it's the plague sensor. So 2-inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, 3 swing, -1 rend, and 1 damage. So something they have over the plague monks in this sense is they've got a generic +1 inch to the range, you know, without going for a woe staff or anything. They also have a better to wound characteristic, getting +1 compared to the plague monks, and they have a natural -1 rend. Okay, going into the abilities, we've got Frenzied Assault. So add one to the attack characteristics of this unit's melee weapons if they made a charge move in the same turn. So this is the same ability they get as the plague monks. However, it is generically better because their standard attack is better. So that makes the benefit of getting an extra attack even better than it is for the plague monks, because getting the extra attack with the -1 rend and the better to win characteristic and the better range is obviously a benefit more than what the plague monks standardly have. Okay, going into the next ability, we've got Plague Disciples. So you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by this unit while it's wholly within 18 inches of any friendly plague monks units. In addition, you can reroll failed battle shock test for this unit while it is wholly within 8 inches of any friendly plague monk units. So this is where it really shows that these guys are sort of worth taking if you're taking plague monks as well. If you're not taking plague monks, I wouldn't really look too much at taking these guys, but if you are, they complement each other very nicely. Well, when I say they complement each other, I mean it's mainly the plague monks that complement the plague sensor bearers. Right, okay, and then the last ability is Poisonous Fumes. At the start of the combat phase, roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches of any units with this ability. On a floor plus the unit being rolled for suffers a 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds instead of 1. This ability has no effect on Clan Pestilence, so that is good. It has no effect on Clan Pestilence because it means it's not going to affect you either, because you roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches, not like each enemy unit. And yeah, so you easily take your own things. Something to remember though, if you are taking Maggotkkin of Nurgle, you know, obviously your SKAVEN stuff's the only thing going to be Clan Pestilence, everything else is not, so just be careful of that. And then these guys, keywords, so they've got keywords is Chaos, SKAVEN Tide, Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, Plague, Sense Bearers. Of course, the most important one here being for this is going to be Nurgle. Now with these guys, are they worth it? They're quite a lot of points, I think, for what they do. They're very, very glass cannon. And that's something that we've already seen quite a bit with the Clan Pestilence so far and with the Plague Monks. However, when these guys die, they're not doing more wounds to the enemy or anything. They're just literally dying, and that's not good for you at all. And because of how traditional tough Nurgle is, maybe it's quite good just to have a bit more of an offensive glass cannon, yes, but an offensive you know, striking force or something like that, just to have in front of your very, you know, durable, you know, defense force, if you like, something like that. Plague Sense Bearers are not worth taking if you're not taking Plague Monks. I'll just say that outright, and they might be worth taking if you are taking Plague Monks. That's it. They're not fantastic, but they might be worth giving a go. And then the next thing we're going to look at, because those are the only 2 standard units we have for the Clan Pestilence, next thing we're going to look at is going to be the Plague Claw Catapult. Now the Plague Claw Catapult is going to cost you 160 points, and it is an artillery, you know, war machine piece. So let's see what it does. A Plague Claw Catapult is a single model armed with a Plague Claw Catapult and rusty knives. So it's got a 3-inch movement, a 5+ save, bravery 4, 6 wins. Not fantastic, you know, wheel stats, but it is a war machine made by the SKAVEN. That's not really the most durable thing, shall we say. Going into the weapons, so we've got 2. So we've got 1 melee weapon and 1 missile weapon. Of course, missile weapon being the most important weapon. And this is the Plague Claw Catapult itself. It's got a 6 inch to 31 inch range. No, I don't know how many artillery pieces we've covered with my reviews lately. I'm not too sure we've covered many at all, because most of my stuff's been def, hasn't it? So how this works, when it is a 6 to 31 inch range, you might think that's a little bit odd, because you might think normally it just has like a number, and then that's how big its range. Like if its range is 24, it can fire up 24 inches. But when it's 6 to 31, what that means is, because it's a catapult, it can't fire at the enemy if they're too close to it. If the enemy's literally attacking the wheels of the catapult can't fling its filth right upon them when it's, you know, standing pretty much on the catapult. You know, it doesn't work like that. So they have to be at least 6 inches away for it to work, which means you want to put this guy behind your defensive lines. Right, okay. So going on to what this weapon actually does. So like I say, 6 to 31 inch range. It's got a 1 attack, freeze hit, freeze wound, -2 rend, d6 damage. So very much like most artillery, especially catapults and things like that, it's one of those, like, there's only 1 attack. You could fail to hit, you could fail to wound, but if you get the hit into wound and done, the -2 rend usually should see you through, and the d6 damage is shaky but has high potential. Okay, going into the abilities, so we have a Barrage of Disease. So a Plague Claw catapult can target enemy units that are not visible to the attacking model. In addition, add 1 to hit rolls and increase the damage characteristic to 2d6 for attacks made with a Plague Claw catapult if the target has 10 or more models. Okay, this is great. It means you can hide this guy behind senior pieces. Literally, if it looked like he was hiding behind, I don't know, a brick wall, and the brick wall is really tall, so every time this thing would technically fire, it would just fire straight into the brick wall. Don't worry about that. Just is outside the enemy and doesn't need to see the enemy to be able to fire. Physics do not apply. Okay, and then the other thing about targeting horde units are quite popular. They've been popular for a while. A lot of people take them. And then this is just a way for your counter against those horde units at a range as well to weaken them. So they are, you know, a lot of horde units are, if they have 20 more models or 30 more models, they get this ability. With this, you can try and reduce that as much as you can before they actually hit your front lines. Okay, so we've got that, and then the last ability is Hideous Death. So subtract 1 from the brave characteristic of a unit targeted by a Plague Claw catapult until the end of the turn. Now the interesting thing about this says subtract 1 from the brave characteristic of a unit targeted by a Plague Claw catapult until the end of the turn. So it doesn't mean that you have to hit them. That's how I read this. It doesn't mean you have to do damage to them. You just have to target them. That's how I read this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so that's quite good. You know, it's just to help you make an even more, you know, bravery debuff, which is very prevalent in a lot of armies and can be very effective. And I did forget to talk about the melee weapons, and you'll see why I did forget about them. But it's 1 inch range, d6 attacks, 5 hit, 5 wound, no rend, and 1 damage. D6 incredibly swingy, 5 hit, 5 wound. Hard to get that. No rend, 1 damage. If you got 1 damage off through the rusty knives, you've done well. That's what I'd say. Okay, and then we've got keywords. So we've got Chaos, Skaven, Skaven Tide, Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, War Machine, and Plague Claw. So obviously the most important one again there being Nurgle, taking the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Legions. What do I think of the Plague Claw catapult? I think they are very fun. I would like to take them. Are they most competitive? Maybe, maybe not. It very much depends on what sort of army you're taking and, you know, what you're going to fight against. And if you go into a tournament and you just don't know, it's going to be hit and miss. I know some people have done quite well Plague Claw catapults, but I know some people haven't done very well at all. A lot of the time when we think of Skaven War Machines at the moment, we mainly just think of the Warp Lightning Cannon, just because how much better that is. But of course we're looking to take this in a Nurgle army. Where in a Nurgle army you don't have too much shooting, so this could be a good answer if you do want to take some shooting inside your army. Okay, and then the next one we're going to look at, and this is going to be starting to look at the heroes. I'm going to start with the small but effective Plague Priest. So, the Plague Priest. He is going to cost you 80 points, and he's the leader. Very cheap, so let's see what he does. So, a description. A Plague Priest is a single model armed with a Warpstone tipped staff and a Plague Censer. Okay, so looking at the wheel stats, 6 inch movement, a 5+ save, 6 bravery, 5 wounds. Best thing about that is a 5+ save. That's all I'm going to say. And then going into the melee weapons, so we get the Warpstone tipped staff, 2 inch range, 1 attack, force hit, freeze wound, master rend, d3 damage. And then the Plague Censer Bear, 2 inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, freeze wound, master rend, and 1 damage. Not bad attacks, but nothing special. Okay, and then going into the ability, so the Plague Prayers. So this is why you take this guy. And it says, in your hero phase, this model can chant one of the following prayers. If he does so, pick one of the following prayers and then make a prayer roll by rolling a dice. On a 1, this model suffers 1 mortal wound and the prayer is not answered. On a 2, the prayer is not answered. On a 3+, the prayer is answered. So yeah, on a 1 you're taking that mortal wound, but it's not too bad. Some armies take D3 mortal wounds. When it's happened, Stormcast armies obviously don't because they're just spoiled as fuck. But, you know, for the Skaven, it's not too bad. So looking at these prayers, first one is disease. And this is if the prayer is answered, pick one enemy unit within 30 inches of this model and roll 1 dice for each model in that unit. For each 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. This prayer has no effect on Clan Pestilence units. Okay, that's pretty good because it's not wholly within 30 inches, because that would just be ridiculous. So it means you can protect this guy. And picking a horde unit, obviously, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, picking a unit of 40 or even sometimes 60 models, you're going to be doing a lot of mortal wounds to the enemy unit. I mean, even you just, I don't know, there's a big, well, clan rats, you can take units of 60, I believe. So let's say you did this to them, on average you'll be doing 10 mortal wounds to that unit, and then just Battle Shock alone will make loads of them run away if they're not inspired. So yeah, very nice ability that is. And the next one we got is Pestilence. So if your prayer is answered, pick a point on the battlefield that is within 30 inches of this model and roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches of that point. On a 4+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. The prayer has no effect on Clan Pestilence units, so just bear in mind that as this is an area of effect spell and you're taking a MAGGOTKIN of NURGLE army, it will affect your other units that are not Clan Pestilence. Just bear in that mind, like health and safety, basically. Health and safety for Clan Pestilence, obviously. And on a 4+, you do the D3 mortal wounds. Yeah, that's not bad. If the enemy hasn't got any hordes, then yeah, I suppose this is the best option to go for. But if the enemy has got a horde unit, just definitely in your range, just go disease for 100% better, in my honest opinion. But mortal wounds and pestilence is not bad either. Right, the next one we've got is Frenzy Assault. So add 1 to the attack characteristics of this model melee weapons if the model made a charge move in the same turn. I mean, it's nice to see that this is carried over from the Plague Monks and the Plague Sensor Bearers. However, don't really want to charge this guy in unless it's for some tactical reason to bog down an enemy unit, something like just try and tie them up a little bit. Just don't charge this guy in, basically. And then the next one we've got is Poisonous Fume. So at the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches of this model with this ability. On a 4+, that unit being rolled for suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit being rolled for suffers a D3 mortal wounds instead of 1. This ability has no effect on Clan Pestilence units. I mean, yeah, there's another reason to get this guy into combat, but I would not do that. I'd rather keep this guy alive than try and do a few mortal wounds here and there. Right, okay, and then the next one we've got is just talking about the keywords. So we've got Chaos, Skaven Tide, Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, Hero, Priest, and Plague Priest. So they're also the most important one there, being Nurgle. So we can be taking the MAGGOTKIN of NURGLE allegiance. So what do I think of the Plague Priest? I think he's cool. I think he's a nice little guy. He's a cheap, you know, leader as well, and a hero, to be fair. And yeah, pretty effective. Just as like an anti-horde unit. And to trigger that on a 3-up, it's not particularly hard at all. So yeah, I think he is not a bad shout, shall we say. Okay, and now something a lot bigger. And this is going to be the Plague Priest. But this time he's going to be on a Plague Furnace. So a Plague Priest and Plague Furnace is going to cost you 200 points. He is a Behemoth, so just bear that in mind. So Behemoth for 200 points isn't bad at all. So let's have a look at the description. So a Plague Priest on a Plague Furnace is a single model armed with a warped stone tipped staff. Then it says a mount. So this model's Plague Furnace attacks with its Great Plague Sensor and rusty spikes and crew. So it says this model has a Plague Monk crew that attacks with their future blades. For rule purposes, the crew are treated in the same manner as a mount. So looking at the will stats, so it starts with 6-inch movement, but this will actually get lower as this is a star characteristic, so you know, referred to damage table. And it will, if it gets loads and loads and loads of damage, and it's the last table, will move 3 inches. Not very fast, but you know, it is a big war machine, isn't it? So 4+ save, bravery 10, 13 wounds. Okay, I like the 4+ save. That is very nice. Bravery 10 is very unusual for Skaven, so that is extremely nice. And the 13 wounds is lovely, and that is for 2 reasons. Most things like this would just be 12 wounds. However, it's made 13 wounds, so that's good. And then the reason what really makes it lovely is obviously 13 is the magic Skaven number, and it's the only reason why it has 13 wounds. So I like it that they transfer that over. You might have noticed they do that quite a lot within like the ranges and stuff. It would be 13 inches instead of 12 inches. I think it is a very nice thought they put into it, shall we say. Okay, then looking at the weapons. Now there's no missile weapons, but there are 4 melee weapons. So let's get started. So the first one is going to be the Great Plague Sensor, which is a 3-inch range, and then for its attacks to hit, to wound, rend, and damage characteristic, it says see below. So it's an ability, but we are going to go to that straight away now, just so you guys can, you know, understand what it actually does. So the Great Plague Sensor. So do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with this model's Great Plague Sensor. Instead, pick an enemy unit within 3 inches of this model and roll a dice. On a 2+, that unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the Great Plague Sensor value shown on the damage table. And to start, this is going to be D3 plus 4 damage. So potential of 5 damage to 7 damage. Quite a lot of damage there. And it's mortal wounds, that's the other thing to remember. And it's only on a 2-up. So it's not like on a 3-up or anything, or 4-up. It's on a 2-up. So unless you're extremely unlucky, you won't be getting off. And that is obviously going to be the main attack for this guy. But it's a nice one, nice way to do more wounds to the enemy. And you can literally just imagine this massive plague sensor just crashing into enemy ranks, or just slamming its way into a monster. It's very animated, shall we say, and I love how the model looks with it. So the next one we're going to look at is the Warpstone Tip Staff. This is 2-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 3 to wound, minus 1 rend, D3 damage. Yeah, wizard attack, that's okay. And the next one we're going to look at is the Putrid Blades, which is the Plague Monk's attacks. This is a 1-inch range, 6 attacks, force to hit, force to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. Yep, okay. And the next one is the Rusty Spike. So this is a 1-inch range, D6 attacks, a starter hit, so that starts hitting on a 2, so that's good. 3 to wound, minus 1 rend, 1 damage. Not a bad attack there at all. Swinging with a D6 attacks, but not bad. Okay, and then let us go into the ability. So the first one is going to be Altar of the Horned Rat. So do not take a battle shock test for friendly Skaven tied units while they are wholly within 30 inches of this model. Okay, really good for your Plague Monks there. Next one we've got is Noxious Prayers. So in your hero phase, this model can chant one of the following prayers. If it does so, pick one of the following prayers and then make a prayer roll by rolling a dice. On a 1, this model suffers 1 mortal wound and the prayer is not answered. On a 2, the model's prayer is not answered. On a 3, the prayer is answered. So there we go, very much like we just looked at for the last Plague Priest. And then let's have a look to see what the prayers are. So the first one is Filth, Filth. And what it says is, if this prayer is answered, pick 1 friendly Clan Pestilence unit wholly within 30 inches of this model. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. So if you've got, you know, big unit of Plague Monks and you've given them both twin, you know, Putrid Blades, they reroll on all failed hit rolls. Now they reroll on all failed wound rolls. If they charge, they also get an extra attack, and then there's ways to make them minus 1 rend and also like 2 damage. So it starts showing just how good Plague Monks can be and why they're very popular. So yeah, that's a very good ability. And then the next one we've got for our prayer is Rabid Rabid. So if this prayer is answered, pick 1 friendly Clan Pestilence unit wholly within 30 inches of this model. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by that unit until your next hero phase. You cannot pick the same unit to be benefited by this effect prayer more than once per hero phase. Okay, so that's really good. Just wait to your Plague Monks to get even more attacks. Obviously, you can put this in other things by Plague Monks in your Clan Pestilence, but Plague Monks are the best candidate, really. And yeah, just shows how you can super buff them up, especially if you take 2 of these. 1 to do the reroll failed wound rolls, and then 1 to do the adding 1 to the attack, so you can really make them quite crazy. Okay, and then moving on to the next ability, it's going to be Poisonous Fume. So at the end of the combat phase, roll 1 dice for each unit within 3 inches of any units with this ability. On a 4+, that unit being rolled for suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers a D3 mortal wounds instead of 1. This ability has no effect on Clan Pestilence units. Yeah, that's good. It's the same, well, we saw for the normal Plague Priest. I would have liked it to be even better because, yeah, Noxious Fumes is a little bit different coming from a little Center Bearer on top of your staff compared to the massive Plague Furnace. But here we are. The main thing of this one, try not to forget about it. This is better than the Plague Priest itself, and the reason why I say that is the exact same ability. However, this guy's going to be stuck into it. Your normal Plague Priest isn't, so it's going to be more relevant. Right, okay, the next one is Protection of the Horned Rat. So roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this model. On a 5+, that wound or mortal wound is negated. Yep, that's great. That's definitely good. A 5-up ward save. I really like that a lot. Makes this guy a lot more survivable. And then the next one we've got is Pushed into Battle. So this model cannot move unless it starts the move within 6 inches of 10 or more friendly Skaven time models. In addition, the model's rusty blades have an attack characteristic of 2d6 instead of d6 if this model's attacks made a charge move in the same turn. So yeah, not really a good ability because you can't move unless you got 10 or more friendly Skaven type. It has to be Skaven type as well models around it, because obviously no one else works out how to push a fucking cart. But it's like, yeah, but you get 2d6 attacks with a rusty spike. Right, yeah, but that doesn't really counter effect the negative you just given me there. However, it is what it is, isn't it? And the keywords: Chaos, Skaven, Skaven Tide, Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, War Machine, Hero, Priest, Plague, Furnace, and Plague Priest. So what I would say about this is obviously Nurgle's make an important keyword, but this guy, if you're taking a heavy Plague Pestilence boss, take the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace. It gives you far too many benefits to ignore, and it's only going to cost you 200 points. Just take it if you're taking a lot of Clan Pestilence. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to look at is going to be something quite big, and this is because we're now going to look at the Vermin Lord Corruptor, which is obviously the Vermin Lord for your Clan Pestilence. You know how like most of the Skaven clans have got like their own Vermin Lord? This is the one for Clan Pestilence, and the nice thing about him is it's only going to cost you 280 points, so pretty cheap monster. Now, like we said, he's a behemoth, and he is a leader, and the other thing cool is what we're going to say is that he's a demon, like I mentioned before, so it means he can take a command trait and a artifact from the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Allegiance, unlike anything else we just looked at in this video. So let's have a look at the description. So Vermin Lord Corruptor is a single model armed with a Plague Reapers and a prehensile tails, I want to say. Basically his projectile tails he can stab people with. And also the cool thing about this, lovely model. Just wanted to say that. So going into the wheel characteristics, we've got a movement of 12. However, this is star, so it will get weaker over time. 4+8, bravery 10, and 12 wounds. Yep, I like all of that. He's a demon, so bravery 10. I would say Skaven, so that is really good, but he's a demon, isn't he? So given he's got that. 4+8, yeah, that's good. 12 wounds though. Why not 13? Why not 13? 12 wounds isn't bad, but 13 would have basically hit the sweet spot with me. It's the same with the Plague Furnace. They made it 13 wounds because it was Skaven, 13 to the lucky number. Why not do the same with Vermin Lord Corruptor or any of the Vermin Lords? Why? 13 wounds would have been lovely. But anyway, I'm putting that to the side. Okay, let's look at the weapons. So we've got two. So we've got the missile weapon, which are the tail, and we've got the meter weapon, which is the Plague Reapers. So looking at the missile weapon first, so the tail is 6-inch range. It starts with 4 attacks, but it will get weaker over time because it's a star. It has a 3 to hit, 3 to win, -1 rend, and 1 damage. Alright attack, nothing to go home to write about, but not bad. And then the next one we've got is the meter weapon. This is the Plague Reapers, like we said. So this is a 1-inch range. Its attacking is going to be starting with 10, but it's a star, so we'll get weaker over time. 3 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. Nothing to write home about as well. Quite disappointing. But let's look at the abilities. So the abilities, so the first one is Plague Reapers. So if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this unit's Plague Reapers 6, that unit inflicts 1 mortal wound and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. Okay, so that's just made the Plague Reapers just a bit better. Still, I don't think they're great, but you can do more wounds than 6s now. So yeah, that does make it better than what it's like Stanley. So the next one we've got is the Plague Master. So at the end of your combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this model. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Yes, I like that. Instead of just being a 4+, suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, D3. On a 4+, suffers D3 mortal wounds. Yep, 50% of the time, nothing's going to happen of this. But it's the other 50% of the time we're talking about, isn't it? It's like when we look at a D6 like damage weapon and go, oh, automatically 6 damage. Obviously, that's not how it works, but that's how we like to think about it in our head because we all like to try and be optimistic. Okay. And the next one we got is Protection of the Horn Rats. This is again the 5 ward save for him against mortal wounds. So very nice. And also it's not just mortal wounds, it's normal wounds as well. So he's going to be having a basically a save that saves a third of all damage targets at this guy. Which is nice because how many wounds has he got? He's got 12 wounds. So if he's saving a third against all damage, basically might as well have 16 wounds. So yes, I do like that. The next ability we've got is Terrifying. So subtract 1 from the brave characteristic of enemy units while they are within 3 inches of any models with this ability. Yeah, that's cool. I like to see that. Strange how a zombie dragon isn't terrifying, but yes, enough said. Okay. And then going into the magic, so it says this model is a wizard. You can attempt to cast 2 spells in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 2 spells in the enemy hero phase. It knows the Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield and Dread Plague spells. So the nicest thing to say about this is this is the first wizard obviously we're reviewing as part of the Clan Pestilence. So it is new and it can cast 2 spells, which does make a difference, and he can also attempt to unbind 2 spells, which you might think, oh, if he can cast spells he can unbind 2 spells. That's not always the case, so a good thing to always have that read through. Right, so let's have a look at his spell, and this is the Dreaded Plague. So Dreaded Plague is cast in phase 7. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within 13 inches of the caster and roll 1 dice for each model in that unit. For 4+, that unit suffers a 1 mortal wound. Okay, so it's changed since last time I read the spell, but I think this is quite nice. I think it's good. This is really effective against hordes. You pick an enemy horde unit, I don't know, if they're really good, just got 20 models. Right, 10 of them are dead. A unit with 60 models, 30 of them, it's just 50% of all their models are dead. And obviously, when I say that, when I say horde, I mean if they're 1 wound. Obviously, if they're 2 wound, that's not how it works. But, if 1 wound models, a big unit of witch elves, half of them are dead. Fantastic. What a great counter horde spell you got there. Cast phase 7, yeah, so quite high, but 7 is the average on 2 dice, so again it's a 50-50 chance you getting it, so I would definitely do this. And if you fail it, oh well, you can still cast an extra spell with this guy, so cool. And then the next thing we've got is going to be the command ability, and this is the Lord of Pestilence. So you can use this command ability in the combat phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly model with this command ability. In that phase, you can reroll failed hit rolls for friendly Clan Pestilence units while they are wholly within 30 inches of this model. I'd say that was really good. However, wholly within 30 inches, so you just have to try and plan ahead with your movement, and when you're taking big blocks of units, can be hard. Could be good. You could play Sensor Bearers for them to get the rerolls, because you know we've already talked about how Plague Monks can get rerolls quite easily. However, it means that you can give them the Staff of Woe for your Plague Monks and still get the rerolls to hit, so you're not missing out by not taking the Twin Blade. So yep, does have some uses there. And then going to keywords, we've got Chaos Demon, Verminlord, Scaventide, Nurgle, Clan Pestilence, Monster, Hero, Wizard, and Verminlord Corruptus. So a lot of keywords there. Most of all, one, like I say, Nurgle, first off, make sure you can go into the Mad King of Nurgle Allegiance, and then also the Demon one, so you can take the Command Trait and Artifact from the Mad King of Nurgle Allegiance. And that is the last unit for the Clan Pestilence. The only other thing I want to review in this video is going to be the battalion. Now, this battalion, I'm pretty sure you can't take a Mad King Nurgle army because it is a Skaven battalion. Pretty sure how that works. Because remember, Slave to Darkness, you can't take a Sinesh army because you know you're trying to take another army's battalion. You end up having to take that battalion as an ally points. Doesn't really work out too well. So they have 4 battalions in here. So they basically have 3 normal battalions and then 1 big one. So we'll start with the 3 ones first. So the first one is going to be Contagion of Filth. This is a 1 Plague Priest on Plague Furnace and 2 units of Plague Monks. So, and it has 1 ability, and that is going to be Plague Altar. So roll a dice. Each time you allocate a wound or mortal wounds to a Plague Monk unit from this battalion while they're wholly within 18 inches of the same battalion's Plague Priest on a 6+, the wound or mortal wounds negated. Yep, 6 a ward save. I like that. We've seen that before. The next one is going to be Foul Rain Contagion. So this is a Plague Priest and 3 Plague Claw Catapults. So future blessings to add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by units in this battalion while they are within 13 inches of the same battalion's Plague Priest. So if I was going to go Clan Pestilence, I would definitely just go with this because I just take loads of those Plague Claw Catapults, and anything to help me rain filth upon my enemy is what I would take. Okay, the next one is going to be Plague Smog Congregation, I think that's pronounced. So this is a 1 Plague Priest or Plague Furnace and 2 units of Plague Center Bearers. So you can re-roll the dice that determines if an enemy unit suffers any mortal wounds when you use the Poisonous Fumes ability if this enemy unit is within 3 inches of any from this pattern. Yeah, that's alright. You can re-roll because I think the ability is not particularly good anyway, so yeah, that's alright. So yeah, the battalion's not fantastic, but they're right. The best one is probably the Contagion of Filth, just to give you the 6-up ward save for your Plague Monks. Okay, and then the big one is Virulent Procession. So this has an organisation, 1 Verbal Corruptor, 2+ Contagions of Filth, 0 to 1 Foul Rain Contagion, and then 0 to 1 Plague Small Contagion. So you can take this with just a Vermin Lord and 2 Contagions of Filth. So it's not one of those ones that, you know, you need 5,000 points to do. Right, so we got the 1 ability is a Verminous Infestation. So at the start of your hero phase, pick 1 terrain feature within 13 inches of this battalion. Vermin Corruptor. Roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of that terrain feature. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Yeah, it's just more ways to do more wounds to the enemy. It's not bad, it's not amazing, but you know, it's okay. Okay, so that is going to be it for the Clan Pestilence review. Now, Clan Pestilence, what would I say about the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Allegiance? I would probably say there are stronger things you can take from the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Allegiance without dipping into Clan Pestilence. However, if you do want to bring some Clan Pestilence units into your MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle, you shouldn't feel bad for doing so. It's not always the wrong choice. There are some good combinations you can have there, like we just talked about how insane we can make Plague Monks, and there's even more ways you can make them crazy in the MAGGOTKIN of Nurgle Allegiance to just complement them even more. So that's when you want to go. Have not bad, and crack on. Do what you want to do. Like I say, very interesting. Skaven, I've just got so much funny lore of them. I have reviewed them a little bit, but not massively before on this channel. But Skaven are one of the best armies in the whole game, and I would argue to say that they have the most creative lore, shall we say, in Warhammer. That's how I'd go in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I mean, like, my favourite lore is obviously like Vampire Cancer Death, but Skaven, absolutely lovely. You can't help but fall in love with the fluffy little rats, and especially when they have boils and all that sort of thing with the Clan Pestilence. So guys, what are your thoughts on Clan Pestilence? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment as well, as that massively helps the channel. It's absolutely free for you guys to do so. If you'd like to support me a step further, I've now got a Patreon account, which is a great way for me to get like some money and stuff towards the channel. Essentially, it is a good support for me being able to get a better tone so I can view armies properly. Things like get a camera, better microphone, just for me to be able to justify the time put into it, and then 3 people who are really, really nice and are vampires on my Patreon and donate at least $5 a month to the channel is going to be Max, Martin and Simon. So thank you very much, guys, for your continuous donations. Also, thank you to all the other people who donate on Patreon, because even $1 makes a massive difference. And if you can't support me on Patreon, that's absolutely fine. I want to say thank you to all my subscribers. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for watching this, and until next time, remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.